It's time for Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here is your host, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
As I was walking down the street one day, a man came up to me and asked me what the time was that was on my watch. Yeah, I said, does anybody really know what time it is? Does anybody really care? If so, I
It's Championship Monday. Hi, everybody. Nice to have you aboard on this sunshiny Monday. We've got the college football championship. Grizz won their sixth game in a row last night. So they are now back on top in the NBA Western Conference, tied with Denver with records of 26 and 13. They did so. They were winners over Utah last night in Mike Conley without Ja, without the big man, Steven Adams in the middle. They play again tonight, back-to-back, but you know who will play? Steven Adams and Ja, probably. And so they're big favorites. I want to say they were like 11-point favorites, something like that, against Greg Popovich and the San Antonio Spurs. That is tonight at FedEx Forum. And then, of course, the day before, it was defense that won the day for the Tigers in the game against East Carolina. We'll talk with Jason Munz about that. We'll talk college football championship game with John Thompson. We've got medals that we will go over. So there is a bunch of news to talk about. Now you look at this Grizzlies team, and they do it. What is their record? I don't know what it is. I don't know if you can look this one up, J-Mo. But their record without Ja, and believe me, you got to have Ja. I'm not saying you don't. But it's astonishing how many games they win without their best player.
Certainly is. But they got a really good depth. They play good basketball. Last year we saw that especially with the way they ran offense, how good they were in that regard.
Well, I think their winning percentage was very close to as good, if not better, without Ja.
They're 3-3 without Ja this year.
Well, they're much better with him then because they're 13 games over 500. They're 667. They win 2 out of every 3 games. Did you watch Aaron Rodgers leave the field with his arms around Randall Cobb last night after the Packers, who will get a medal from me, after they lost to the Detroit Lions?
It was, he also talked about in the press conference, it looks like he might be at least feeling like he might be done in Green Bay. I don't know, done for good. But.
No, I you know what? I don't think he'll be done in Green Bay. I think it's a bigger question, will he retire? I don't think the Packers really and truly are ready to turn the page on Aaron Rodgers if they can get him back for another year. At least both their GM and their president have made that statement in the last couple of weeks. Now, that could have changed after last night. I don't think so. I think the question is, will Aaron Rodgers come back? And, he said in that press conference, he's going to wait and take the emotion out of the game before he makes that decision. I'm going to give you 53 million reasons why he'll be back. I don't care how much money you got. And he talks about that need to have something competitive. You're not turning your back on $53 million for 1 year. I'm sorry. You're coming back.
It certainly would drive me to come back, but he's also become a lot more, we talked about it yesterday, introspective and worldly and all these other things too, so maybe he doesn't see it the same way anymore, but we'll have to see together, I guess. But I tend to agree with you.
I think he'll be back. I think he'll be back with that decision much quicker than he was. He basically said, I know that, end of February's free agent declaration, and it all starts up big.
I believe that's right. Yeah.
Because you got Super Bowl, and then you got a couple of weeks. It cools down, and the NBA and the NFL is smart. They always want to keep themselves in the headlines, and so I think they start free agency about a week or two after the Super Bowl. So I'm going to say by the end of February he will make his decision. I'll be shocked if he does not come back. College football game tonight. Georgia is a 13-point favorite. We've already made our picks. I'm curious. You're locked in. You can't change your pick. But do you still feel the same way that this will be domination by the Bulldogs? Because you are giving away 13, and you are saying they will cover that. I am saying that I think it will be a competitive game. I think Georgia probably will eke it out. But I think it'll be the Horned Frogs covering the 13 points.
To be honest, and this is a great radio answer, I think. I really don't have a strong feeling about this game either way. It was really more of, we're making picks against each other. I had to go the opposite way of you. So I really don't feel strongly one way or the other about this game. I think
this is basically a false pick.
Well, I think it could go either way. I don't really have a good gauge on how much better Georgia is than TCU. Honestly, I've been thinking TCU is going to fall off since week 4 of the season. And so they just keep winning. So really, there's no indication to me that they won't make it competitive. But Georgia's a different animal now.
Well, everybody who talks about why they think Georgia will cover goes back to the 2 mistakes that Michigan made inside the 2-yard line that could have been points.
And they shouldn't have been in the game.
If those were points, then TCU does not win that game, right? So they go back to that. But turnovers are a part of it. TCU's defense had something to do with Michigan losing the football twice inside the 5-yard line. So will Georgia do that? Probably not. I wouldn't think.
Do you anticipate another 50-50 game or whatever the hell the semifinal games were?
No, I don't, but who knows? I don't.
Do you prefer that type of game, or let's just like the Titans-Jags, it's 16-13, kind of a rock fight? Which type of football do you prefer to watch?
Here's what I prefer, and I prefer this in any sport. I don't really care if it's like 2-0 in baseball, or a 3-1 game, or 5-4. I don't really care as long as there is importance on every pitch. I don't care if a football game is 50-47 or 17-14, as long as every snap has meaning. And basketball's the same way. I mean, if you're within 5, then, it's a 2-possession game, and every possession means something. That's really what I prefer, is a game that has closeness that keeps me interested, as opposed to a blowout. Unless it's the Tigers, then I don't mind if they're running away with a good team like they did with Auburn. I kind of like that a little bit. But no, seriously, if I have no skin in the game, and I'm not a gambler, as you all know, I get enough juice from the games without putting any kind of money on it. But I just want it to be close so that there's meaning to every aspect of the game. That is the most important thing to me. For you?
I like a rock fight. They kind of tunes. I love good defensive football. I like AFC North football where they're punting and points are at a premium. To be honest, I was a little bit tuned out of the semifinal games when they just started scoring at will and just started going up and down. I had the game on, but I kept getting distracted by other things I was watching. It just doesn't I don't get invested the same way when they're scoring like that. But people like offense too, so I guess it's just different strokes.
I honestly think most average everyday fan prefers offense to defense.
Same thing. You mentioned baseball. Same thing in baseball. Well, I love a good pitcher's duel in baseball.
Oh, I do too.
People like those home runs in like a 13-10 game or something.
I love 1-0, 3-1, 2-1. I love that because every pitch means something, and usually those games go faster.
They do go faster.
I mean, the one thing about baseball is, and it's the complaint, except from those that are true purists that wouldn't mind a 5-hour game. I like a game about 2.5 hours, and you rarely get that in baseball. That's the case. But with a good pitching battle, you truly do. There is a great piece in the Commercial Appeal right now by Memphis Tigers beat writer Jason Munz, who will be with us a little bit later. And do you remember when the Tigers announced that Andy Borman, who'd come from this AAU program, the Penny had his guys had battled their program, that he had agreed to become the third assistant on the Tiger bench.
He's a fellow from New York, right? In North
Right,
area? Yeah,
right.
I
But
remember
you know
that.
what many people claimed his claim to fame was? That he is the nephew. His mother is the sister of the wife of Mike Krzyzewski. He is Mike Krzyzewski's nephew. That was what we thought was his claim to fame. In this article, and I've interviewed Andy Borman, and he never brought this up. He doesn't mind talking about Coach K because he and Coach K are really, really close. In fact, in that article you'll read, Coach K calls him the son he never wanted because he hung out with his three daughters a lot when they were growing up. Now, you can understand it's his wife's sister's son, right? What I didn't know, what he's never mentioned, which to me is even bigger, is that Andy Borman's grandfather is Frank Borman. Do you know who Frank Borman is?
Name doesn't ring a bell.
That's because you're young.
Yeah, whippersnapper.
Frank Borman was one of the Apollo astronauts that was in the lunar module that orbited the moon. Was one of the first guys to orbit the moon. He's an Apollo astronaut. And nobody ever mentioned that. That's incredible. Great job, Jason Munns, for pointing that out.
You guys got great lineage going on
I
here.
am no kidding. But
An astronaut
why,
and Coach K.
Why wouldn't he not have I wish I'd have known that. I would have loved to have talked about what was his grandfather like and what did he talk about, orbiting the moon.
Only a handful of people have ever been to space.
It's incredible. It really is. So there's even more to the Andy Borman story than we knew. All right, on Mondays we give out medals. I'm sitting in the Family Leisure Studios. We do this all the time, and I should point out, we do have a new sale. It's the floor model sale. Lowest prices of the year on pool tables, spas, and patio furniture. Oh, those game tables too. Lowest prices you're going to find. Floor model arcades starting at $1,200. This is the kind of thing you'd see in a bar, the best. Really, you can spend hours playing. You never get tired. $1,200. Last chance for the 2022 pools, and the floor model trampolines are now $2,100, and that is installed. All you got to do is get to I-40 and Wooden Road for Family Leisure. Are you ready? It is time for Precious Metals. Unfortunately, I actually have more negatives. I got more rust today than I do, but I still have my share of positive medals. I'll start with the bronze. I'll give it to the University of Memphis defense. The defense cost them the game on New Year's Day in New Orleans against Tulane. They were terrible. They gave up 96 points. In the game against ECU, well, it was terrific. It won the game in the second half. It won the game. There's no doubt. They forced 22 turnovers in that game. That's the most this year against a team that actually was good at taking care of the ball. I don't think they averaged more than 11 turnovers a game. So they doubled their output in making mistakes. Their best player, Javon Small, who is their Kendrick Davis, and if you look at numbers, he was tied with Davis for the most assists in the American Athletic Conference going into that game. He had 8 turnovers. He had 10 points in the first half, none in the second. Tigers did a great job on him. And the Tigers, with all those turnovers, midway through the second half, pulled away with a 22-0 run. That 22-0 run, J-Mo, was the best run in 3 years. There's not too many 22-0 runs.
Certainly not in college basketball, but in any level of basketball for that matter.
Well, you know who had a better run than that this year, just like two games ago? Houston. Houston was at home. I think it was against SMU. They fell behind 2-0, and then they went on a 28-0 run to take a 28-2 lead. Game's over in the first 5 minutes of that game. But 22, that is a terrific run. They get a bronze. I got to give a silver medal to Mike Tomlin. Do you know, and would you look this up for me quickly? I meant to do this. I didn't get to it. That he has been the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers for how many years, J-Mo?
2007 to this year. So that is
15 years.
15 years, yeah.
15 years the dude has been the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. In 15 years, J-Mo, how many losing seasons?
He has 0 losing seasons.
That is correct. With their win yesterday, they are 9-8 in this elongated season.
Started 2-6.
Started 2-6. No one thought they'd ever get to 500. I think they won 7 of their last 9.
7-2 in their last 9. That's right.
That's incredible. He's got to get a silver medal from me for that comeback. They didn't make the playoffs.
They could have if the Dolphins would have lost. Though.
I know it, but your Dolphins didn't lose.
That was a terrible game to watch.
It was. What was the final? 11-6 in that game.
Yeah, and it was really 9-6, and they got a safety on the last play of the game.
Crazy. But Tomlin, no under 500 seasons in 15 years as a head coach. That's almost impossible.
Agreed.
And this year's team, I like Pickett. He's definitely maturing, and Tomlin's doing a great job, or whoever the quarterback coach is, of developing this guy. I mean, I'm really impressed with that, but I think they made the right choice to get him. That's his hometown. He's got a lot of pride. Anyway, they're going to be good. They got a couple of good receivers now that are young, too.
Pickens, oh my
yeah,
gosh.
Pickens in particular. The Pickens we're going to be hearing a lot of. He gets a silver medal because I don't know if it's possible in this day and age to go 15 years without one losing season.
One of the greatest NFL coaches ever.
I agree. I'll give a silver medal to Desmond Bain. It's only his 7th game back. He looked terrible when he first came back. He led the team yesterday. He had 24.6 rebounds, 9 assists, 2 steals, and a block. That's a pretty good game. No Ja, no Steven Adams inside, and yet they win the game, and they do it well. There's a big fight in the game and all this other good stuff.
Loved it.
Desmond Bain, he deserves the silver medal. And then my gold medal, I've got to give that to Nyheim Hines. Who is he, you may say? He is the Buffalo Bills kick and punt returner. And what he did yesterday was amazing. All the emotions, the tribute to Damar Hamlin before the game, and then there's the kickoff. And the first play after all that emotion is a 96-yard touchdown kickoff return. Wow. Then later in the game, he gets a 101-yard touchdown return. There were 4 kickoff returns for touchdowns this year, the whole season. And normally that would be 16 games. They had a 17th game. This guy gets 2 in that game. 2. And believe me, the Bills needed it because their defense wasn't quite as good as it has been all year long. And Josh Allen wasn't quite as good as he has been all year long. But they end up winning that game, and they end up winning it comfortably over New England. And by the way, New England doesn't make the playoffs. 22 years Bill Belichick has been a head coach, either there or Cleveland. Only 4 times he hasn't made the playoffs. 18 times he did, but yesterday was the 4th. And the Bills did that. But it was that young man, Nyheim Hines, who really was the difference in the game.
Yeah, those 2 touchdowns. That game was a lot closer than the final score, too. And without, like you said, without those 2 touchdowns, they don't make that win. My bronze medal, I got some obscure ones today. My bronze medal goes to Najee Marshall, who plays for the New Orleans Pelicans. He's had to fill in a lot with Brandon Ingram out and Zion Williamson out.
Sure.
Played great defense, good offense, too. This past weekend on Friday, 23 points against the Nets, had 24 against the Mavs, and 3 steals in both games. An 50.6 steal weekend for the kid.
Can I just say this? This is a point that I've made many, many times that I don't think people get. When you're going to play a 48-minute game, and you got all those athletes there, somebody's going to score points. They're going to get to 100 or more almost every night. Somebody's going to score them.
Especially in pro basketball.
So that to me is proof positive.
No, he's a good player, I'm telling
Marshall,
you.
I never heard of the guy,
Went to
and now he's
Xavier.
averaging over 20?
He's a good player, I'm telling you right now. He's guarded Ja the past couple times they played them. My silver medal goes to the Charlotte Hornets, who, after some stinkers, including the one to the Grizzlies on Friday night, they scored 51 points in the first quarter against the Bucks and won the game 138-109. Terry Rozier had 40 points. Unbelievable. The Hornets are back.
How many guys were out?
They played the whole team.
Oh my
They
gosh.
played the entire team and gave up 51 points to the Hornets at home in the first quarter.
You know,
incredible.
The Bucks are not going anywhere this year. I'm sorry, and I think
Wow.
Budenholzer is a great coach, but when you get shellacked like you did by Memphis, and then you give up 50 points in a quarter to Charlotte, there's something not right in Milwaukee, in Beer Town. They're drunk or something. It's crazy. That's ridiculous.
Too much high life.
No.
My gold medal, I had it Mike Tomlin, but you gave that one, so I'll go a different route. I'll go to Geno Smith, who had 4,282 yards this season, 30 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. 4,282 yards, a Seahawks record, passing Russell Wilson. Geno Smith, who people didn't even think should start at quarterback this year. Unbelievable season. The Seahawks are going to the playoffs.
And right now, if you asked anybody, who would you rather have? Russell Wilson, Geno Smith.
Take Geno.
Geno's going to be the one you take.
Take Geno.
That's the craziest thing. Okay, now for the Russ, and I got 4 of them. I'm going to start with Colin Morikawa.
Oh, you stole mine. This is crazy.
Colin Morikawa has a 7-stroke lead early in his round. 7-stroke lead.
He was winning the whole weekend.
Oh, he was. It was incredible. And don't you love watching that tournament?
It's a great tournament. Just
because you get all the views of Maui. Oh, my God, it's so gorgeous.
I wish I was there.
I've played that golf course.
Really?
Yes. Did I ever tell you where I was on in 2 on the 18th hole on that plantation course? Because it was downwind, downhill, trade winds.
Everything in your favor.
I'm trying to remember stats, says I always exaggerate. But my drive was like 350, 370. He says I say 420. Those guys can hit at 420 because it's downhill, downwind. And I wasn't playing from their tee boxes, but I was there in 2. I was very, very proud of myself.
Good day.
It's the only hole I was proud of. But that golf course is gorgeous. But anyway, so here's Colin Morikawa. He's actually got a 5-stroke lead with 6 holes to go.
That's right.
And John Rahm ends up beating him by 2 strokes. Oh, and I'd like to give John Rahm a medal. I didn't give him a medal because he had the fortitude to stay in with it, and he played good down the stretch. But Colin Morikawa gave him the tournament.
The only 3 bogeys all day, 14, 15, and 16.
I know.
Back to back.
Not just all day, all tournament.
Oh, yeah.
He did not have a bogey all tournament until then.
Crazy.
That is, I hate to say it, that's a choke job.
Big choke job.
Well, he's got this new revamped short game where he's changed the way he putts a little bit, his grip, and apparently the same thing with his short game, and he bladed something out of a bunker. I mean, he lost it. I think when he bladed it, that lost all confidence, and then he choked. That's what I think happened. I got to give a rust to the Green Bay Packers. All they got to do is win, and they're in. The Detroit Lions were already eliminated because before that game started, Seattle had won the game. Once Seattle wins, they've got nothing to play for. It doesn't matter. They can't get in. All they can do is spoil the Green Bay Packers.
And they
do. And the Green Bay Packers laid a major egg. Aaron Rodgers was awful. His last pass of this year will be a interception.
Bad throw, too.
What's he terrible doing? Throw. I don't know. This is the most, I think it's the second most interceptions he's ever thrown in a single season. This is not a great year for Aaron Rodgers, although I'll give him credit. They were way down and out, and they came all the way back to this. And then to blow it at home, rust for sure. Houston Texans. If you haven't seen, they fired Lovie Smith. But that's just the way they operate. 1 year, and Lovie's out. Of course, he won his last game, which cost them the first pick. Now the Bears have that. Yeah. I don't know if that was a part of it. They were mad that he did that. 1 year, he's done. The year before, David Culley, he was done. Bill O'Brien went 0-4 in 20. He's done. 4th coach, when they hire him, will be for the Texans in 4 years. 4 coaches in 4 years? You're either totally missing it when you make the hire, or you're not giving any of the coaches a chance to build anything. Stupid. They get a rust. And then my final rust goes to Kentucky hoops, and I guess my man John Calipari, they were number 1 in the country. They lost to the same team Memphis lost to on the same floor by 3. They lost by 26. They lose to Alabama 78-52. You know what their record in quad 1 games is this year?
0-4.
0-4. Woo! Kentucky was preseason number 1. What a egg they are laying. They get my final rust.
Mine goes to Colin Morikawa. You hit the nail on the head with that one. It's the worst choke job I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, isn't that terrible? I like Colin Morikawa.
Me too.
You know what's really interesting?
I had John Rahm to win, though, so I was kind of happy.
Colin Morikawa comes up like he's bulletproof at the beginning, right? And he wins like his third tournament. He was a winner in a major. Crazy. And now all of a sudden he chokes like that. I wonder what that's going to do for him the rest of the year. It'll be interesting to see what happens because I thought when Rory McIlroy blew it at Augusta that he was done, that he couldn't handle that it was going to tarnish him, and then he goes out and wins the U.S. Open. So let's see what happens with Colin Morikawa. We got to talk college football playoff championship game tonight. We'll do that in a second with our good friend John Thompson. He'll come your way. Brought to you by the good folks at Old Dominic. I've turned on some people. I tried that bottle in bond that has been released. Oh, my gosh, what a winner that is. If you like whiskey, sipping whiskey, there's 2 new products that Old Dominic have put out that you can get everywhere around town. Finally, the master distiller, Alice Castle, has released this stuff. She was waiting and waiting until it was perfect. You are going to love this. The bottle and bond, by the way, 100% alcohol. Wow. It's got a great taste to it. And then, this is right in the heart of downtown. This is a great place to go tour. They have the best, I think, way of learning about how they make whiskey and the history of Kentucky whiskey and the history in this region. And then you get to try it at the end of the tour. And they got this great bar that you can go to. You don't have to even go through the tour to check out the bar and check out the Old Dominic products. You will love everything about Old Dominic. To Atlanta we go in a minute. This is Wolo and Friends.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Wherever you are, stay tuned in to real sports talk. Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
We say it all the time. Bell Tavern is one thing above all, a bar. It's a wood-paneled haven to have a signature cocktail or something from the widest selection of bourbon, whiskey, and scotch downtown by far. But Bell Tavern has one advantage other bars can't boast: access to the menu at 117 Prime. There are no other bars in Memphis, much less downtown, that offer machina beef carpaccio or a one-of-a-kind butcher's platter to go along with that perfect cocktail. Bell Tavern is above all a bar. It just happens to have some of the best food downtown.
We told you this was going to happen, and now it has. The floor model sale is happening at Family Leisure, lowest prices of the year, on pool tables, on those wonderful spas, on patio furniture, state-of-the-art, and of course the game tables. Floor model arcades are now starting at $1,200. It's your last chance for a 2022 pool. And floor model trampolines are only $2,100. That's the installed price. Family Leisure, I-40 and Wooden Road, where family and fun come together.
I've always gotten tons of UTIs. Cranberry products never worked for me, and I was desperate for a way to be proactive. I'm Jenna Ryan, CEO and founder of Eucora. We've worked with doctors to develop effective urinary tract health products. Just mix a packet of Eucora with water and drink it when you need support, like right after intimacy. Eucora is helping over 100,000 women stay healthy. Ready to join them? Get 30% off at eucora.com/radio. That's UQORA.com/radio.
DeSoto Auto Sales specializes in late model cars with low mileage. They have the highest standards in the car industry. All of their cars are test-driven, checked out from head to toe. Unlimited inventory, every make and model. And if it's not on the lot, they'll find it for you. Walk in the door of DeSoto Auto Sales, 5704 Goodman Road. Within 45 minutes, you can test your car, get credit approval, and finish paperwork within an hour. No shortcuts at DeSoto Auto Sales. Kind, courteous employees, a down-home environment. DeSoto Auto Sales cares about your time. Lowest prices in a 350-mile radius. We're living in a world today where time does matter. Visit them online. Check out their referrals. DeSotoAutosales.com. Very proud to serve DeSoto County and other surrounding areas. DeSoto Auto Sales, 5704 Goodman Road. Call 662-890-7184. 662-890-7184. Come on down to DeSoto Auto Sales.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
To Atlanta we go. Just one quick Tiger football note. The U of M lost Will Friend, O-line coach that had been in the SEC for a while, to Mississippi State. I guess he got lured away by money. You know, that happens. But the Tigers rebounded and they get Iowa State offensive line coach Jeff Myers, who apparently had a bunch of all Big 12 linemen go through Iowa State. So hopefully that is a good hire for our man Ryan Silverfield. In the meantime, our coach in Atlanta, that is John Thompson, joins us now to talk about the College Football Playoff Championship. Just out of curiosity, do you know anything about Jeff Myers?
I do not. I know a lot about Will Friend, though. Will Friend was a really good player at Alabama, but he is from Starkville, Mississippi.
Oh, really?
His father was a high school head football coach in Starkville. Then Will played in the mid-'90s. He was with Freddie Kitchen and that group at Alabama. So I competed against him multiple times when he was at Alabama, and a really good football coach. He does. He's got a lot of pedigree in the SEC, and is a very good offensive line coach. Anyway,
I'm sorry it happened, but I guess you can't really blame the guy if he gets to go home. That's his hometown, and I'm sure they could offer him a lot more money than the Tigers could. So,
well, anyway. there was a time at Memphis, and I was just that a guy took probably took some heat because he left an SEC program and he went home, to Arkansas. He left LSU and he went to Arkansas. People didn't understand that, but that was quite a long time ago.
Well, they thought because that coach that did that hated Nick Saban. That's what everybody thought.
That had nothing, zero to do with it. Not true at all.
But that coach, John Thompson, shall remain unnamed, right?
Yeah. Let's keep the innocent. Let's keep the innocent out of that. Okay?
All right, Georgia's a 13-point favorite, Coach. That is
unbelievable.
That is huge for a championship game. What do you think about that?
Well, I tell you what. If we want to, let's talk about the spread right now. I think the boys in Vegas know what they're doing. Except, TCU started off the season 500-1.
Right.
Okay. Now Georgia, I don't know what they were, but TCU this year is 10-3-1 against the spread. Georgia is 7-7. I think now I'm not a gambling guy much. I think the spread's going to go down before game time. I think there's going to be a lot of action going today.
Do you really?
I really do.
Since you said that, I'm going to check. I'm going to check right now to see if anything has changed, because I did look this morning. No, it is still at 13 with the over-under 63.5, which is –
that's a lot. I didn't know that.
Well, considering all those games were in the 50s last week.
I know, but I just think there's going to be more defense played.
I do too.
And getting into what I really think is critical, when you look at a game and you think, okay, what's it going to take for the other team to win? And you do it both ways. This one goes by the book. We were talking about the book, but this one goes by the book because, one, I think it's explosive plays, obviously. TCU is first in the country with explosive plays over 40 or more yards, or second in the country. They're second in the country. They're first in the country of plays 50 or more. And Duggan can create, and when he and Johnston are a dangerous pair, and Georgia's defense has not played really well lately. Their corners have not played well. That is a matchup that I think that Duggan extends some plays. They get the ball down the field, and they have some explosive plays. Then the next thing is how TCU, in my opinion, how TCU beat Michigan is very clear. They had 3 takeaways in that game, 2 for pick 6. Georgia, they turned it over a few times. It could be that way, and then you never know what happens if TCU hangs around. I don't think TCU is going to be intimidated in this game. I think Georgia is going to be well prepared, but if they're going to have some consistent, long, efficient drives to take the momentum away from TCU if some of those things happen. And then the last thing is TCU's in analytics now. Their analytics in havoc defense. They cause problems in the backfield, create negative plays. All of that gives them a chance to win the game. All of those big plays, turnovers, momentum, and havoc defense, I think, gives them a great opportunity to win the game.
So are you telling me that you are taking TCU with the 13 points?
I'm telling you that, you know what, Spike Dykes was a disciple of Mike Leach.
Yep.
And there, you never know.
Oh, my gosh. Are you saying straight up?
I'm pulling it out. I'm pulling out all matters that can have. I mean, there may be some intervention in this thing. I mean, spiritually,
I hear
that could help. That could help this thing.
Only you would bring this up.
Well, I mean, that's true. I mean, with all the things going on, you know what? Georgia has the most talent. Georgia has been there. Georgia has the pedigree, and they've been expecting to get in this game since a year ago as soon as the confetti fell down. TCU started out the year not even ranked.
No, they were picked 7th in the Big 12 in the preseason.
They found ways to win. They won late. They won. I mean, the famous. They get the team. Everybody runs that drill and gets the field goal team out there. But from the beginning, these guys have done it and have done it the right way. They play really good defense. I think the 3-3 will be effective against Georgia. That'll take some of the RPOs away. I think, but when it comes down to it, I think Georgia wins the game, but it may be close. I got to go.
You know what? I'm in 100% agreement with you on this. That's exactly what I've said. And the great thing that you pointed out with your analytics that is, I think, very interesting is that you're second in the country in yards 40 or more explosive plays, first in the country at 50. Even if you fall behind, because you have that capability, and this kid Duggan does so many interesting things, that makes you think you can still come back in a game if you fall behind.
No question. No question about that. Okay, did you know those 2 stats already? I feel bad if you already knew. Okay.
You're my hero for coming up with those.
Duggan, you know who Duggan kind of reminds me of? Rusty Trail.
Rusty Trail?
The old Memphis quarterback, Rusty Trail.
Wow. And, now this is crazy. We are getting heavenly intervention from him today and now a Rusty Trail reference, which, by the way, I loved Rusty Trail. Now, if you go Jeff Sparkman on me, I'll really go crazy.
There you go. But Rusty Trail pulled off the upset of whom in 1987. If you can pull this one off. Okay.
1987
would have been the University of Alabama in the Liberty Bowl. Memphis beat Alabama. One after
is that
in the Liberty Bowl, and Rusty was the quarterback.
Wow, I do remember that. 87.
So anyway, he reminds me.
Who was
Duggan
the coach?
reminds me
Who
of
was the
Rusty.
Memphis coach in '87 that beat Alabama? I'm trying to remember.
I
do think that Bill Curry was the coach of Alabama that year.
Charlie Bailey.
Oh, Shirley Bailey. That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, it was Charlie Bailey.
Yeah,
it
yeah.
sure was Charlie Bailey.
And Bill Curry was the coach of Alabama. I'm 100% certain on that.
100%.
And you know who his OC was? You know who Bill Curry's OC in that game? Bingo!
Rip Shear. Yes, sir. It was Rip Shear, right?
Right. Exactly.
Okay. That's right. That's exactly right.
That's part of the reason why Memphis won that game, is that Shearer was the OC. I promise you, his method was to keep it close, so you'd be close at the end.
I was his defensive coordinator. I know how that worked.
I know.
We kept it close. Hey, we kept it close against Ole Miss that first game of the year in 1999. If you remember that one.
I do.
If we're going down the old memory trail, we kept it within 3 the whole game. You remember the score of that game?
3-0.
3-0.
Yeah,
sure was.
Yeah,
and we dropped a pass with 28 seconds to go. I was coaching at Memphis then, down the right sideline, and dropped that. But it was and Art Kaufman was the defensive coordinator at Ole Miss. So anyway, those were good times.
Yeah,
those were good times.
Yeah.
And hey, I don't think it is not gonna be 3-0 tonight. I think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be. Did you say 60? Was
60,
the over and under?
I think it was 63.5. Let me double check.
That's
here.
right.
Okay. I'm not into all that. I just you know what? I've been around college students and football players and 19, 20, 21 years old guys pretty much all my career. And if you bet on the game, please do it for entertainment reasons only.
I will tell you
anything can happen.
I will tell you the other analytic that I thought was interesting, because everybody is valued TCU all year long. They are 10-3 against the spread. I think they're going to be 11-3 when this one comes
10-3 and 1. 10-3 and 1.
10-3 and 1
against the spread.
There we go.
Yep.
Wow. John Thompson, we'll talk about this one last time next week. It has been sheer joy chatting with you every week during football season.
It's myself, man. I hope everybody's enjoyed it. Thanks so much for having me on.
You got
Take care. Have a great day.
That is our coach, John Thompson, down in Atlanta. He's brought to you by Sheldon. Sheldon Rosengarten. Yeah, the year's over now. Maybe you're thinking in 2023 you're going to move into a bigger home. You're going to scale down. Maybe you're going to move out of town. I got your guy. It's Sheldon Rosengarten, Mark Spensdorf. He can advise and help you. Even if you're thinking of improving your home, Sheldon can tell you what renovations will make you more money in the future. That's all based on recent data. That is the beauty of Sheldon. He keeps up with a strategic marketing program that always fluctuates. What is the market doing? Where are we at right now? What's the interest rate? He keeps up with everything, so that strategy is always on the money. It's going to involve preparation and presentation. All you got to do is see it at memphisrelocate.com or call and chat 483-0546. That's Sheldon Rosengarten, Marks Bensdorf. We pause for a second. When we come back, we talk with Munzie, commercial appeal beat writer Jason Munz on the Tigers. Comes your way in just a minute.
Add a little fun to your lunch break. Join Johnny Radio for Sports 56 Happy Hour from 11 to 1 every weekday on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. In these uncertain economic times, there are so many things as a contractor and a business owner that I cannot control. The rising cost of materials, not to mention fuel and transportation costs. In the last 2 years, shingle prices have almost doubled and commercial materials have doubled. And I don't have to tell you what fuel costs these days. But you know what I can control? How much markup I put on a project. I have always prided myself in knowing I never gouge a customer. But in an effort to ensure my crews have work and my customers are being treated fairly, I have lowered my profit margin, hoping to give you a price you can live with and keeping my crews busy. So if you need a roof or gutters, please give us a call. 5 Ash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 5 Ash Roofing, a proud sponsor of Tiger Athletics and a member of the Tigers home team. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
5 Ash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
I've always gotten tons of UTIs. Cranberry products never worked for me, and I was desperate for a way to be proactive. I'm Jenna Ryan, CEO and founder of Eucora. We've worked with doctors to develop effective urinary tract health products. Just mix a packet of Eucora with water and drink it when you need support, like right after intimacy. Eucora is helping over 100,000 women stay healthy. Ready to join them? Get 30% off at eucora.com/radio. That's UQORA.com/radio.
The NFL playoffs are here, and the easiest way to get into the action is with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. New customers get started with $150 in free bets, guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Just sign up with promo code WIN. FanDuel has all your favorite bets, from the money line to point spreads to player props, all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Place your first $5 bet to get $150 in free bets. Win or lose with promo code WIN. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
21 plus in select states. Must be present in select states to wager. First online real money wager only. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable free bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbookfanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. For Colorado, Iowa, Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Virginia, West Virginia. 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342 in Arizona. 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana. 1-800-522-4700 Wyoming, Kansas, or visit ksgamblinghelp.com. 1-877-770-STOP Louisiana. 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 in New York. TN Redline 1-800-889-9789 in Tennessee.
Nestled in the heart of East Memphis, located corner of Park and Cherry, is a beautiful residential neighborhood. I'm here at Town Village Audubon Park interviewing a new resident, Carolyn. Share with us why you chose Town Village.
Well, if your parents or special friends need to make that big move, let me share with you my experience. It was tough for me to leave home, but then I discovered Town Village. I would like to highly recommend Town Village to you and your loved ones. After looking at all the amenities and meeting all the people and staff, I was hooked. From restaurant, bistro, 3 meals per day, housekeeping, transportation, security, health care, physical therapy, exercise room, and even a heated pool and spa. Come see us and make your new home at Town Village.
Visit us and call Daniel at Town Village Audubon Park at 901-374-7342. There's no place like home, Town Village.
Now, back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Always a pleasure on Mondays to chat with our friend, the commercial appeal Tiger beat writer, Jason Munz. And you wrote a great piece on Andy Borman, the nephew of Mike Krzyzewski. The thing that blew me away, because I've interviewed the guy, I knew about the relationship with him as the nephew of Coach K, but he's also the grandson of Frank Borman, the Apollo astronaut. That blew me away. Munzie?
Me too. The commander of Apollo 8, alongside Jim Lovell and I want to say, I can't remember his first name. Anders is his last name, but he's the oldest living astronaut currently, and has been since 2016. So that's pretty cool. But his grandfather might be the most interesting man in the world. He's a retired Air Force colonel, and then he left that to go into NASA, and where he was like part of the Gemini 7 crew, and then Apollo 8 was the first manned
capsule to orbit the moon, I think, right?
Well, to reach the moon, no less orbit it. And I believe it went around the moon like 10 times. And you know, that was like considered a miracle, right? Because it was planned to go up in 1969, but they got word, the United States got word that, they had intel that Russia was going to try and do it sooner. So they sped things up and they got there before them. And that was, Yeah, like that's his primary claim to fame. But the other thing, real quick, about Frank Borman, get this: his face is on the cover, the album cover of Led Zeppelin's second album.
Really?
It is.
Now,
it is.
I'll be honest with you. I have that album, and I don't remember that. That is crazy.
I do too now. And like as I was doing the research for this story, I found this out, and I asked Andy about it. He had no idea. But it goes even further than that. He asked his mom and his dad about it. They had no idea.
Wow.
So
this is great stuff.
Pretty cool stuff, yeah.
Well, you know what blows me away is that Andy is obviously a pretty modest dude, because we interviewed him for the Penny Hardaway TV show. I don't know if that interview is played yet or not. We did it at the beginning of the year, and we talked about his relationship with Coach K, and his sister, Mike's wife, and his mother are sisters.
My sisters, yeah.
And he never mentioned Frank Borman, because I would have loved to go, what does Frank say about his adventures as an astronaut? And he was in Apollo and Gemini. So, very few guys were in both programs. That tells you what kind of man Frank Borman was. Anyway, that is pretty cool. Before we run out of time, we talk Tiger Hoops here with you every week. We can talk a bunch of stuff with you. But what do you make in the ECU game where it looked like, at the first half, particularly 2 runs that were double digits, 11-0 run, 12-0 run. Good teams don't usually give up 2 runs like that in a half, but they showed the heart and defense to come back and win the game by double digits.
Yeah, I mean, like 2 things really stick with me about that game. A, it was really the first time to me that there was like sustained body language problems. Like they just didn't look like it was very, very clear to the naked eye, even the casual observer, that they just weren't feeling each other. Like they just weren't vibing like they had been in the early part of the season in the non-conference.
Why do you think that is? What do you think happened? Because they didn't play stinker games in any of the non-conference games, including the loss to Alabama. That's only by 3. Look, Kentucky lost by 26 there a couple of nights ago. They certainly didn't do that against Auburn. They didn't look that way. They should have beaten Seton Hall. They knocked off Stanford and Nebraska. They never looked this discombobulated. What do you think happened?
Well, if you believe Penny, and there's no reason not to. I mean, his theory is that, like in the early part of the season, there were fewer bodies. Like there was no DeMaurier Franklin,
right?
And like everybody, like people were willing, at least in those first 6 weeks or whatever, they accepted their roles. But it seems like, I don't know whether the holiday break, people started talking to other people in their lives, and it started kind of getting in their heads a little bit, like maybe you should be playing more. And it kind of does feel like the way things were going last season, that there does seem to be a little bit of, like, I don't know if dissension is the right word, but like, guys are not exactly happy with their lot, their role right now. And so, I mean, like that's Penny's theory, is that, you got DeMaurier Franklin now. You had some guys out. Keontae Kennedy had the concussion protocol. Alex Lomax missed a game or 2. And then, those guys are now back, and it's sort of crowding the kitchen, if you will. And so, I mean, that's as good a guess as any, and Penny would know. So that would be, they got to get that ironed out though, because, and very quickly, because quad 1 opportunity awaits here in 48 hours,
right?
Or almost 48 hours.
Right. And the Tulane loss, by the way, they beat Temple the other night. That is no longer a quad 3 loss. That's now a quad 2 loss. It's not as damaging. I think the net today is 59, something like that. You get a quad 1 win, it'll zoom back up and put you. This opportunity can make up for the loss of Tulane, I think.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. Like I think it would sort of cancel one another out, or even you probably even come out ahead because again, like you mentioned, Tulane is playing well, and you hope if you're a Memphis fan, with the exception of the time they come here, that they continue to play well, and everybody thought they would be a good team. I picked them to finish fourth in the conference, and I think they might still. They're 3-1 right now in conference with a win over Memphis, and so. I think that's going to be good. But if you can go down to UCF on Wednesday and get that game, they're 52nd or so in the net today, or maybe even a little higher than that. They may be in the top 50 right now. But but like I said, you got to snap out of it. The other thing that I really liked about that game against ECU was Alex Lomax. I mean, career high 7 steals. Kind of without him, you don't win that game. And,
I think McCadden, too. I think that was the best performance by Elijah McCadden that we had seen, and he was big all over the place on both sides of the floor. Real quick, we're halfway through at 12-4, literally halfway through the season. There are 2 flaws that appear to me that are in this team. One is outside shooting, and the other seems to be rebounding. Now, there's no Malcolm Dandridge, but he only averages 4 a game. Well, Can those flaws be overcome? Can they improve on those in those 2 areas?
I think of the 2, 3-point shooting is probably the more likely. If there's going to be one or the other, I think it's going to be 3-point shooting. I think the more DeMarie Franklin plays, the better he'll feel. Once they start, once they hopefully get these chemistry issues ironed out, then Keontae Kennedy, you hope he gets back into the swing of things. Jonathan Lawson's probably only going to get better. I worry about the rebounding though. That concerns me. I don't know, even Malcolm Dandridge or not. I'm not sure that's going to get, that's going to get fixed.
He is Jason Munz. As always, we appreciate it. We'll talk to you next Monday.
All right. Thanks, Wolo.
Safe trips, because we've got 2 before we talk to you next. One in Orlando, that's Wednesday night, and then one in Philadelphia on Sunday. Jason, brought to you by our title and presenting sponsor. That's Homer Skelton Hyundai in Olive Branch, Mississippi, right at the corner of Highway 78. That's Lamar. And the very first exit in Mississippi is Craft Road. You get off there, 10 minutes away. Turn left. Go see Chris True and all the gang that have been around forever. I mean, that's the beauty. There's continuity at Homer Skelton Hyundai because they have people that have worked there for literally 30, 40 years. This team, I think, has been together about 20 years for the most part. Chris has been their leader for at least 5 or 6 years. He knows everybody. By the way, they're going to be moving just a few blocks down the road to a bigger and better place in the next year or so. Chris True is going to lead that charge. Right now, you need to charge over because you can get this incredible package that they are running through the month of January. It's you buy a brand new Hyundai, any car on the lot, you don't pay for 90 days. A 90-day deferment only from Homer Skelton Hyundai. See you tomorrow. Johnny Radio's next.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dave Wiloshin here for Home.